The complaining note-takers. Mr. Grant was an enigma at Ridgefield High. A tall, stoic man in his late 40s, he had a teaching style that baffled students and parents alike. Each day, he entered the classroom, wrote long, detailed notes on the board, and sat at his desk while the students copied them. There were no discussions, no lectures, no questions, just the rhythmic scratching of pens on paper. At first, the students didn't mind. It seemed easy. But as weeks turned into months, frustration grew. "I don't get it," whispered Mia, a straight-A student, to her seatmate during a rare break. "What's the point of all this copying? He never explains anything." "I know," replied Ethan, who usually loved history. "I thought this class would be fun, but now it's just boring." The murmurs of discontent spread quietly. No one dared confront Mr. Grant directly. His piercing gaze made even the bravest students hesitate. But during lunch breaks and group chats, the consensus was clear. Mr. Grant was a terrible teacher. One day, Mia and a few classmates decided to take matters into their own hands. They approached the principal, Mrs. Delaney, and shared their concerns. "We're not learning anything," Mia said. "All we do is copy notes. He doesn't teach." Mrs. Delaney nodded thoughtfully. "I'll speak to him," she promised. The next day, the class waited nervously. Would Mr. Grant change his ways? To their surprise, he began the lesson as usual, writing on the board in his precise, looping handwriting. Halfway through the class, however, he paused and turned to face them. "You think I'm not teaching you," he said, calm but firm. The students froze. It was the first time Mr. Grant had addressed them directly. "You're right," he continued. "I don't teach the way you expect. But let me ask you something. How many of you have reviewed the notes you've copied?" A few students raised their hands hesitantly. "And how many of you have tried to connect these notes to what's happening in the world today?" he pressed. Silence. Mr. Grant's expression softened. "The notes you copy aren't just facts. They're pieces of a puzzle. I want you to ask the questions, to dig deeper, to find the connections. Education isn't about me handing you answers. It's about you learning to think critically." He walked over to the board and circled a date in the notes. For example, "This event. Who can tell me why it matters today?" No one answered. "That," he said, "is why I've been silent. I've been waiting for you to stop copying and start questioning." The class sat in stunned silence, his words sinking in. From that day on, Mr. Grant's class transformed. He still wrote notes, but now he encouraged debates, group research, and student presentations. The students discovered that his notes were meticulously curated, filled with clues and insights meant to spark curiosity. By the end of the year, Mr. Grant's class was the most challenging and rewarding course many of them had ever taken. And when the school year ended, Mia approached him with a smile. "Thank you, Mr. Grant," she said. "You were teaching us all along. We just didn't realize it." Mr. Grant gave a rare, small smile. "The best lessons," he said, "are the ones you discover for yourself.